Hello, welcome to ABO Television. This is Keeping It Real with Genevieve Ama. You're tuning into ABO Television and Voice of London Radio, our sister subsidiary radio station. Now, as you know, my focus is on Africa. And my two colleagues have already covered a bit of Africa, so this follows so nicely. We all know that my heart is on Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. So those of you that haven't seen, I think today must be the 5th or 6th series of programs that I'm focusing on the continent. I'm going to mention sub-Saharan Africa, which covers south, west, east. Does not cover north because that's more on the Mediterranean side, and we'll talk about that later because we all link in. Today I'm going to talk, the focus is going to be on Ghana. There are issues. I'm going to cover other countries as well, but for now I'm covering issues that are mainly on my heart that needs to be talked about. Today I'm talking to our leaders of the continent of Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. I'm not going to shout at you today. I'm not going to be rude to you today. In fact, not ever, hopefully. But I'm just appealing to your conscience. We are appealing to your conscience. As my two colleagues previously covered, we don't understand why the resources of Africa has not brought joy or prosperity to the masses. Our continent is not developed. It's still considered third world. Other countries that were considered developing world, some of them are Asia, they're now far ahead of us. Why? So this is just a summary of the focus of this show. Tune in to Keeping It Real with Genevieve Ama, ABO Television, Voice of London. Subscribe, like. Even if you don't listen to the show, at least like and comment. I would like you to go on there and post under the comment the kind of things that you would like us to cover. You know, Africa is such a huge topic to talk about. Today, the main focus is on Galemsey. What is Galemsey, you might say? What is Galemsey? Genevieve Ama. Galemsey is a word that has been coined in Ghana, which means, how do I put it simply? It's illegal gold mining, illegal mining, but it's mainly focused on gold, where people and foreigners are in Ghana, as well as some Ghanaians, predominantly the leaders, are digging gold or mining gold illegally. Now let me give you the history of mining gold in Ghana. You have to subscribe, you have to apply for a license to mine for gold. You go to the government, you get your license, and this is mainly focused and given to indigenous Ghanaians. Indigenous meaning, and sometimes when I'm speaking and I use a specific word, even for my own understanding, I like to break it down because English is, for many of us, it's not our first language. So indigenous are the people, so for example, the Ghanaians born and bred in Ghana, or born and bred in, like for example, Aborigines, indigenous Africans, you see. So the indigenous Ghanaians can apply for a license and mine for gold. But what they used to do, they never destroyed the land, they never destroyed the water, the forest, never used chemicals. They would use like a hammer or a pickaxe, or those kind of small minor things that people will use to try and mine for gold. And then what happened? The word Galemsey came up because suddenly we had an influx of foreigners, predominantly Chinese foreigners coming into Ghana to mine illegally. And so the question is, well, you're blaming the Chinese and other foreigners. How would they know where the gold are if they were not shown where, if they were not shown where the gold is? Your question is correct. How would I know where a secret treasure is if I'm not told where it is? I'm appealing to the leaders of Ghana right now. The reason why we have an issue in Ghana under the name Galemsey is these people, especially the Chinese, came in with their big trucks, big gigantic trucks that is able to mine the land deeply. Not only that, they use chemicals to mine for gold. I mean, next week I hope to show you pictures. I don't have my tablet, the bigger one, but I'm going to get my producer to show some of the damages that is caused in Ghana right now. The land is destroyed, our forest is destroyed, the rivers are destroyed. The river, some parts of the river in Ghana is now brown. Waters flowing through taps come out brown. The water board, when you speak to them, they have another answer, but then I'm going to find out more information and report to you what they have said. Our land, farming, even cocoa, all of those things that normally should naturally bring resources, bring, shall I say, businesses and money into the country, the land is being destroyed. And you know the most painful part is, there's a woman called Aisha Wang. She's a Chinese woman, and she thinks that she can rule Ghana. She has been brought in, as well as some of these foreign Chinese people. And I'm saying Chinese because their instruments have been the cause of the destruction in our land, Ghana. This woman seems to rule Ghana in terms of mining in gold illegally. And guess who brought her into the country? Our leaders. Our leaders have brought this woman into Ghana, has brought the foreign Chinese into Ghana with all their machinery to destroy our land. And you know the most painful part is, when the gold is mined, it does not stay in the country, in the Republic of Ghana. The gold is taken out of the country, so therefore the money, the treasure, does not stay in the country to help the indigenous Ghanaian people living in Ghana. And you know what the most painful thing is? We're all talking about climate change. Climate change, the atmosphere being destroyed, the land being destroyed. This comes under Ghana's environment. The environment of Ghana, the forest is destroying, the rivers are destroyed. In fact, the water, normally the rivers and the water is usually used by the local Ghanaians. They can't even use that water to bath or drink, or even if you were to boil the water, it's still not strong enough for you to drink this water. A few researchers come out on YouTube, in films, in documentaries. Farmers can no longer farm on their land. Why? Because it's been contaminated by these chemicals being used by these foreign Chinese people. And I'm not blaming the Chinese. I used to get so upset. But you know, I'm not upset with the foreign people that are coming onto our land and destroying our land. It's our leaders. You've got the chiefs that owns the land, so they show these foreigners where to dig or mine for the gold, and I guess they take a cut. They're not thinking about the environment. They're not thinking about the future of Ghana and the people, our children's children, and the grandchildren, and all the people that are supposed to enjoy the future of the Ghanaian land. And so I stand here and I'm appealing to leaders. I don't understand why a leader, and I'm focusing on Ghana right now, and I'm spreading it across the rest of Africa. But if you're a leader, why don't you care about your land? Why don't you care about the people that have voted you into power to serve them? You are a servant. If I'm voted in as a MP or as a leader of a country, you vote me in to come in there to resolve your problem, to resolve the issues of the land. People vote you in to come in and resolve the problem. If a Ghanaian was to go to China, or any of those people, foreign people that have come into our country to destroy our land, do you think that this Ghanaian person will live? Go to China, go to wherever you want to go and destroy their land. Do you think that this person will not be put in prison? Do you know what's happening in Ghana right now? The Ghanaians that have been caught illegally mining have been put in prison, but the Chinese, when they're caught, they're never arrested. In fact, it was in 2016, about 800, or maybe, let me just back up a bit, between 200 and 400 Chinese people were deported. They were not put in prison, they were deported. Really, ideally, they should have been imprisoned for destroying the land economically, environmentally, and even health-wise. But they were sent back to their country, and majority have also returned back illegally. But the Ghanaians were arrested. And so I asked myself this question. What's the reason and what is the fear of not arresting these Chinese that have come into the country to destroy our land? And it all boils down to fear, because our leaders are busy begging for money, either from Asia or from the West, and when you borrow, you become a slave to the lender. So our people are arrested and the foreigners are not. I'm appealing to you, if you are a leader and you happen to come across this video or this chat, because keeping it real is, for me, is having a conversation in your sitting room. I have a conversation, you have a conversation with me. I'm appealing to you as a leader, as an African leader, especially in Ghana. Take care of the land. Why are you allowing foreigners to destroy our land? Why are you allowing the chiefs, the kings, omo ahimfo no, omo land ni omo dia, omo ya ahimfo, enti omo kuta land no, ukuta land e chese with ese wo di ma Chinese no, ese wo di ma foreigners, na mo sell land no meboa. So I'm just speaking a little bit in tree here. So basically, essentially, I'm just repeating what I've just said in English in tree. I'm appealing to the leaders. I know that everything is about money. People worship money more than helping individuals or helping their land. I will always compare Africa to the other continents, to Asia, India. I was watching a program the other day. One of the India are now classed as one of the individually are classed as one of the richest, have most of the richest people in India are considered third in the world. Not because the whole of India is developed, there's still lots and lots of poor people, but there are lots of millionaires. Let's talk about China. I'm always going to come up with China. How China has developed in the last 20 years. And now they have the most, some of the most richest billionaires floating in China. So Ghana, what happened to Ghana? What happened to the neighboring countries of Africa? We have all the resources. China depends on Africa in terms of resources. You're a leader, and I'm going to repeat to you again. If I was a Western leader, I would be laughing at the African leaders, because the Western leader is thinking in their mind, look at these people, they've got all these resources, and look, they can't even govern themselves. They're still poor, you still bring poverty to your people. Our leader come into power, and your job is to make money. I'm not going to say anything that's going to make you feel bad. I'm going to appeal to your conscience. And I understand spiritual. I understand some people don't believe that there are two worlds operating in the universe. You better believe it. One is spiritual and one is physical. Physical is what you're seeing now. Physical is what we're seeing now. Spiritual, unless God opens your eyes, is real. Whatever takes place in the spiritual takes place in the physical first. What I'm trying to say to you as a leader, that when you are voted in as a leader, as a president, as an MP, to take care of specific local constituencies, when you take care of that, I have to laugh. Guys, I'm laughing because of my producer, sorry. So I've got 5 minutes basically. So when you're voted in as a leader or as a MP, and you do what the people have requested you to do you know that it's a blessing? Do you know that out of that you can even become, God can open doors for you to make the money that you want to make, rather than stealing? A lot of African leaders come to power just to make money, just to steal from the people. When a nation is suffering and the nation is crying and the mother doesn't know when the next meal is coming from, do you know that it's a curse onto you, the leader? You're bringing curses onto you and your children and your children's children, because you're in power. You're taking your children to private schools. Some of you people are flying your children to UK and United States, and a mother and a father, a genuine man and a husband and wife, trying to do their best to take care of their children, are crying day and night, because you as a leader is a father to the nation. You should care. You should care. You should want to develop your people. When contracts come, it should be Ghana first. There was a time when Donald Trump said America first and people were upset. So I analyzed it and I said, why not America first? I went in further. America first meaning that when there are jobs, it should be the indigenous American first. So it should be Ghana first, or whatever continent first. It should be Africa first. It should be the African nation first, African people first. When there are contracts, it should be the African person first. There are many Africans in Ghana, in Nigeria, that are, and all the neighboring countries, Ivory Coast, all the neighboring countries, that have talented Africans living in that country, talented contractors, talented engineers, talented pilots, talented businessmen. But what I'm saying is that when a contract comes in, they would rather give it to the foreigners. What is wrong with us? Before China came out into the world 20 years ago, before that, they hid, a bit like Japan, they hid behind the scenes. In the 80s and the 70s, if you wanted to get a contract in Japan and you did not know a Japanese, you would not get that contract. All the contracts went to indigenous Japanese, indigenous Chinese, and even now it's happening. When there's a contract going on in Africa, it's always a Chinese company that is behind it, doing the infrastructure, building the roads, building this, building the airports. Why? Because the leader of China wants to ensure his people are prosperous, his people have businesses, his people have jobs. So I'm appealing to you, Ghana in 2 years' time is going to go into a voting situation, whoever that leader is. Please come in and serve, do good for the people. For me, what I'm seeing in Africa right now, build the road, the money that you're stealing, that money can fix the road, build the road. You're busy flying to Europe, flying to America, flying here and there. You enjoy the road that is already being paved, good infrastructure. Why don't you do the same for your country? Today, the topics on Galemsey, I'm not finished with Galemsey. I'm going to come back. It's one of my passion. It's a passion because it's destroyed the land of Ghana. That blessed land of Ghana is being destroyed by foreigners. They don't care about your people. They don't care about your land. They're only interested in the resources to make them rich. If you're a leader and you're allowing this, then what type of leader are you? Then step aside. Let other people come in and do the right job. So I'm going to conclude here. Galemsey is going to continue next week. I'm going to come in deeper. I'm going to try and ask my producers to show pictures, because it's not over. The land is being destroyed. Farmers cannot grow stuff, cannot grow cocoa, cannot grow all the food, all the stuff that needs to be grown on that land is being destroyed. Something needs to be done. It's now become an international crisis, what is happening in Ghana. And it's all because of our leaders. I'm not going to blame the foreigners. I'm not going to blame the Chinese or whoever they are. Somebody is showing them where the land is. Somebody is selling them our land, and they come in and destroy, and our leaders are sitting there because they're part of it. God is watching. You want to be blessed, you want to bring blessing onto your generation and avoid curses. Do the right thing and help the people in Ghana, and I'm going to include Africa. Help them live a better and prosperous life. We should not be poor. Africa is rich. Africa is not poor. So, thank you for listening to me. I end here and see you next week. Bye-bye.